Hello, this is David Taylor Klaus, and it's Mindset Mondays with DTK. This is currently episode 24. And so if you'll take just a moment, if you will, and click share just below the video. And if you will, I would love you to share this video and share this broadcast and Facebook group with your community. Best way to increase and expand the conversation is for you to invite your community. And Mindset Mondays is a year-long project that I've undertaken, and we're 2 episodes away from the halfway point. It's an opportunity for those with a growth mindset or those who would like to develop one to play with new ideas, new concepts, and obviously new mindsets. The playground today is one going back, again, about 2,000 years. So here's the quote we're playing with today. And this is Lucius Annaeus Seneca, or Seneca the Younger. And this goes back, he was born before the time of Christ and lived through 65 AD. The idea that Seneca shares with us is that things are not difficult, right? Because we do not dare. It's because we do not dare that they are difficult. And this is a lesson that's been, that I've learned. You know, you've heard me talk before about the goal of making every mistake a new one. Well, this is a mistake that I evidently like so much that I make it over and over and over again. The amount of energy that it takes to avoid something difficult or circumvent something difficult or ameliorate it or do whatever we can not to encounter it is so much a greater expenditure of energy than often what it takes to face it or navigate through the difficult situation. This is an idea that I discovered a while ago, that meaningful, lasting change only happens when the pain of the status quo finally outstrips the fear or the actual pain of the impending change. We'll do that again. That meaningful, lasting change only happens when the pain of the status quo, what we're suffering with right now and what we're navigating right now, finally outstrips the pain of what we make up is to come. Got to get uncomfortable enough with what's happening now to fight to change it. That's if you drop a frog into boiling water, it immediately reacts by leaping out. Yet if you put a frog into a pot of room temperature water and slowly turned up the heat, the frog would swim around until it boiled. And that's because there's no contrast. And we need contrast in order to be compelled to change. We need something to push us. And so when we sit and stew in how difficult things are and say, oh no, that one's going to be too difficult, so I'm just going to stay here. It's too hard to change. It's going to take too much of me to change, too much of a stretch to change, so I'm going to sit still. That's too hard. Well, when sitting still, when suffering through what's happening now, when boiling in the status quo becomes painful, we leap. How many times have you said, oh my God, I wish I had started that years ago. I wish I had started that before. I wish I had started that before. You know, talk about that with my coaching. I wish, on one hand, that I had started my journey to coaching and the path that I'm on now 10 years before. I'm not sure if I was ready 10 minutes before. I was still making up that the change was still going to be too hard, that stopping what I was doing and finding something else and creating something else was going to be too hard. So I stayed put. I wallowed in my status quo and swam around in it until it came to a boiling point. The difference is there was contrast for me. So where's the opportunity for contrast for you? I mean, go back to the story of Seneca. interestingly enough, when he was a younger man, one of his tasks was to be he was one of the advisors for young Nero. And when Nero became emperor, he was brought on as one of his political advisors. Well, watching what was going on in Rome, Nero and a group of others conspired to overthrow or assassinate Nero. And when Nero found out, Seneca, among others, were compelled to commit suicide, to fall on the sword. And Seneca was willing to stand by and play his role and watch what was happening in Rome, effectively Nero playing the fiddle while Rome burned. And when it was too much, when the contrast was too great, Nero took action, and Seneca took action. And again, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It's not because what was required was difficult that he did not act. When he chose, when he dared to act, they ceased to become difficult. Regardless of the price that was paid, it's very rare that what we're battling with is going to require falling on our sword in that way. My goodness, the idea of sitting by and letting things be, letting things not change, letting them stay the same because the fear of the difficulty and the challenge, it's exhausting. It's physically painful. Sitting still in discomfort. So where are you sitting still in discomfort? Where are you? Thank you, Bill. Thanks, Bill. I love the comment. The idea of sitting still in the discomfort until it's great enough that you actually enact the change. Always a good lob from the side. Thanks, Elaine. I mean, the practical example for me, all right, I'll give you one today. How about the one that's going to happen in 15 minutes? So as soon as this is over this morning, I'm climbing on a bike. I still have my gear on underneath. And I've got a 15-mile ride, which isn't a lot, but then again, I live at 1,100 feet above sea level. I'm starting right now at 8,300 feet above sea level, and I'm riding up to about 11,500. So I'm climbing over 3,000 feet in elevation. So I have been stewing about it overnight. Worst night's sleep. So I'm pissing away energy last night that would give me more fuel for the day. All right. Because I'm nervous about this ride. 3,000 plus feet of climb over 15 miles after a vicious hike 2 days ago. Now the sore from that is coming. And I'm letting the energy get pissed away. I mean, I literally have the pit right here. And I have thought so many times already about not taking the ride, yet I know how beautiful it is outside and how much I want to ride. And I dragged my bike all the way from Atlanta, flew it out here to Colorado. So yeah, I get stuck in the do not dare, but the sitting still and beating myself up is costing me energy, and it's uncomfortable, and it puts me in the cortisol swirl. And yet the minute I get on the bike, after I stop panting from trying to adapt to the altitude, I know how much better I feel and what the payoff is. And whether it's stewing over, do I leave my job and go and search for another one? Do I start the process? Do I launch that business? Do I leave the situation? The amount of energy and pain that you go through in wallowing in the status quo, it's just bleeding off energy with no payoff. It's not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It's because we do not dare, because we do not move, because we choose to stay in the status quo that they are difficult. from the sublime to the ridiculous, the opportunity to take action, to stop the discomfort and to stop that pain. It's never as hard to move forward as we make up that it is. It is never as hard to move forward as we make up that it will be. Ever. We are, as humans, brilliant at catastrophizing forward. We always make it up to be worse than it could possibly be. And yes, I am riding back down after I get to the top. Elaine is meeting me up there and we're riding down together, right? And Karen, you've lived this. The only emotion stronger than fear is hope. If you stay in the pain of the status quo, that's staying in the pain as opposed to moving through whatever is facing you. It's never as bad as we make up that it's going to be. It's amazing how creative we can be when we're catastrophizing forward. When we think of all the catastrophes that are to come, even though they're not, it's brilliant how creative we can be in coming up with how awful it might be. What if we spent that energy envisioning how brilliant it could be and how magnificent it can be on the other side? What if we spent the time envisioning a positive future, envisioning what's on the other side of the difficulty that's coming? What if I had spent from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning when I was wide awake, thinking about how clear the air is and how brilliant it would feel up at the top? Probably would have been able to get a full night's sleep, right? So what's coming up for you? Where are you choosing to sit in the discomfort, making up that what you have to go through is difficult? Where are you wallowing in the status quo and making up that it's difficult? You know, that first opportunity to shift, the first step in solving the problem, before you even work on the solution, is to identify that you're sitting in it, that you're choosing to sit in, that you're stuck and choosing stuck, right? That's the first opportunity. So what will you look at now? What will you change? What will this conversation on this Monday morning allow you to do differently? What will you make easier? Well, here's the opportunity. Join me at facebook.com/group/Mindset Monday. Join the conversation, both online and watching previous episodes if you've missed them. It's always an opportunity to be part of the conversation and would love to have you. So until next week, what mindset will you choose?